Now, this is a subject I talked about in previous videos, but I never put the numbers in. I made my case that credit cards have become a little boring. We are not in the position we were 3 years ago when there were new products every time, there were amazing sign-up bonuses, and it was really worth to try get into the credit card game. My argument is not that it's not worth it, but I'm saying that the products are not the way they used to be. And today I'm going to talk about this a little furthermore.
Bravo.
So I clearly remember talking about this subject. You guys were telling me that there are amazing sign-up bonuses out there. In some cases, the sign-up bonuses increased. Today, we're going to explore this with some numbers. I took one credit card as a good example, or a decent example, and that is the Hilton Aspire, because this is something I recently did. And although the numbers looked okay, I wanted to highlight how they compare if we add the inflation factor in. So without any further ado, let's jump to today's presentation and come back to wrap it up. I'm not gonna go into details. We went to a full-blown presentation on these credit cards before, but what I am going to do is add the inflation factor in and then compare today's product with what it was 5 years ago. This Hilton Aspire in its previous form was presented in 2017, and since it didn't change, it recently changed a few months ago, like a couple of months ago. So I think it's important to see how this new product compares with the previous product, adjusting for inflation. We're not going to go through all the credits. We did all this. We know what the return on spend is. And we said that for the first year, the return on spend of the previous credit card was 38%. And then 2018 to 2023, at least half of it, it was 38%. And right now it's just under 30%. But adjusting for inflation, we see that the $2,491 of maximum value that we assigned on the new Hilton Aspire is really $2,007 adjusting for inflation. So in 2018 dollars, we're looking at about $500 less than what we predicted in the previous session. The annual fee really stayed the same, if not dropped, adjusting for the inflation. So instead of $450, you're really like paying $443 in 2018 dollars. So I think the $550 annual fee is really where it should be. So based on the math, it is where it should be. The maximum amount of dollars really drops, but we're looking that comparing to 2018, it's still 16% more than what it was in 2018 dollars, and that's adjusted for inflation. However, in the first year, we're looking that the return on spend is just about 24% instead of 38%. And you will ask why the numbers are higher. They are higher, but to hit that sign-up bonus, we are spending about 50% more to get the extra sign-up bonus. So for 30,000 points more, we are spending 50%, $2,000 extra. Yes, they give you 3 more months to hit that sign-up bonus, but yeah, it helps, but it's not a good trade. What saves the day is really all the credits that I am applying here, assuming that you will use all of them. So what we're looking here is really 24% instead of 38%, and this is huge. Now for the second year, we said that we apply our imaginary budget of $12,000 equally spread between travel, restaurants, gas, and groceries. Here we're looking at about $400 less of maximum value. The annual fee is the same as we talked earlier, and the maximum total you can expect after paying the annual fee is $1,093, which is minus 6% from the 2018 version of this credit card. The return on spend is 8.78, so just under 9%. And before it was just over 9%. It dropped. It's not significant if you ask my opinion, but I will state one more time that this is assuming you're getting advantage of all the credits. I'm going to explore what happens if I use this as a travel credit card only for Hilton, and I say here I am applying $2,000 of travel on Hilton. I think that's fair. I'm doing one trip. This is for one trip, and I think that's more realistic than two trips. I know that many of you do two trips, but for me, I think it's more realistic to take something like this, one trip, because even if you have a second or third trip, who tells you that you're going to go to a Hilton resort? Unless you plan your vacation around the Hilton resorts, I don't think it's feasible or realistic. Therefore, I'm going to do this example here as having one trip, and we see that we're looking at $1,045 of maximum value. The maximum total after subtracting the annual fee is $602, which is a decrease of 34% comparing to 2018 to 2023, really, credit card. So minus 34%. So if you were planning to get this credit card, live in your drawer, use it once, you're looking at minus 34% comparing to the previous product. The return on spend is just under 25%. I would call it 25% instead of 37%. Now look how crazy it is that if I'm not adjusting the numbers for inflation, we're looking that in the 2023, we said it's about 29%, the return on spend. So, okay, you can make the case that it's minus 8%, so what? But if you compare the inflation adjusted numbers, we're looking at 13% drop, which is crazy. The last example is, what if I take this credit card and I only use it for Hilton without any spend, assuming that I can still use one time my credits for one trip, and we see here that the return on spend stays basically the same as the 2023 as a percentage. So we see at 61.63, so 62%. It's just about the same as the unadjusted numbers that we did for the 2023 credit card. So I would say that for a product like the Hilton Aspire, we have good and bad news. The only positive scenario really is to take this credit card, not use it, and only use it once without any spend. Once you go to a Hilton resort, that's the best case scenario. I know that's not really feasible because you are gonna spend and you can't limit yourself at $200 when you go to a resort because you're gonna eat, you're gonna drink. So it's somewhere between the 61.63 and the 24.64. I want to say you're looking at a very decent return on this credit card, but it's not where it used to be. And that's the whole point of this video. 3 out of the 4 use case scenarios here, we're looking at a decrease in the return on spend. And this goes across the board. It doesn't matter what product you're looking. Let's say you're looking at the Chase credit card, Chase Sapphire Preferred, for example. It's still 60,000 points. And you must say, hey, it was 60,000 points before. Yes, but what did those 60,000 points worth back then? What do they worth now? And you might say, hey, but I'm still having to spend the same amount of money that I used to back in 2018, and now we have 2023, so my dollars also increased and I'm following inflation. Even if that was true, 60,000 points are not taking you where they used to take you 5 years ago. These banks are not playing the game like they used to. They know that many people are very smart nowadays. Many people are following the rules. And in many cases, they just gave up. American Express has become really smart by presenting more, but making it complicated to actually use. And for most people, that's a very good trap because they're not going to use it. I know many savvy people in this channel do use them, but there's many average people that hear me or somebody else talking about these credit cards, and they fall into the trap and they never able to use all the credits. So they're going under on these credit cards, not on the Hilton Aspire specifically, but other credit cards. It could be anyone that you can imagine, unless they have 0 annual fee, of course. But for the most part, most credit cards stay in the same kind of sign-up bonuses that they were offering 5 years ago. Nothing much is changing. If you wanted to hit like 100,000 point sign-up bonus that you used to do back in the day, it would have to be 120, 130,000 points right now to get the same amount of value like you used to. So, and I don't see that happening. They keep being very cautious on what they offer. And I think part of it is because so many people nowadays know what to do. 60,000 points. I remember I did my first trip to Costa Rica back in 2000. Was it 18? 19. 2019. I spent about 40,000 points on a round trip to Costa Rica from Washington, D.C., Southwest back then, 40,000 points. And then I had, with all the spending I did, let's say another 25,000 points to play with, and I used that as cashback. And I remember I had some amazing time. Right now with 60,000 points, I don't know what's a good flight. The other day I was playing in the Southwest app and I was trying to find any kind of flights that make sense. They keep advertising 5, 6, 7, 8,000 points flights and nothing interesting really, at least not in my case, not from where I'm flying. We're at the point where new players are coming in. All players are going out or they plateaued. And I think that's sad. City used to be a big player. They're not anymore, in my opinion at least. Wells Fargo is jumping in, but they're not really that impressive. I mean, Built is a good product. Okay. Capital One is okay. American Express has been changing, but it's really dropping its value if you ask my opinion. I enjoy using these credit cards. I know that there's a lot of value, but it's getting harder and harder for me to suggest new credit cards to new people. And it's not that they don't worth it. They absolutely do. For somebody that has not ever been in the game, but for somebody that has been, and comparing where we are from where we used to be, I think there's nothing exciting for a very good amount of time now. But let me know what you guys think. How do you like this presentation? What do you think about these numbers? Inflation adjusted. Do you think they're fair? Do you think they're accurate? Let me know your opinion down below. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one. Ciao.